So being a finance channel, one of the biggest things that I think so many different channels always advocate is about why it's so important to live frugally. And so in today's video, what I really want to do is maybe give a little bit of a personal touch to this to explain a little bit about why I personally choose to live relatively frugally as well. Now, I think it's really, really important to say, and I think this is maybe one thing that makes my channel a little bit different than other channels, which is that by the fact that when we talk about living frugally, it does not mean that you are saving every last single dollar and not spending any money at all. I lived through a phase that I was relatively poor when I did that, and I do not necessarily recommend it unless you absolutely have to, which is during that era when I lived it because I had to at that time. But if you are able to be relatively financially okay, so you don't have to even be like rich, but just relatively okay, it's important to still be able to spend money to enjoy life once in a while. But of course, all of this stuff we're going to talk about in a little bit in today's video. So definitely stay tuned for that. We may have a lot of other videos that talk about saving money, and that's one of the things we're going to talk about. So I'll put those videos at the end screen so you can watch it after you watch this video. But today's video is going to be about why I choose to live relatively frugally. So with that being said, let's just get started. But as always, like, comment, subscribe if you guys enjoy videos like this. Consider leaving a comment about honestly just anything. And with that said, let's get this video rolling and started. So when it comes to living a very, very frugal lifestyle, like just mentioned, I think the most important thing to note is that it does not mean that you are buying nothing. I think at the end of the day, it's really important to note that what it does mean is that you're saving as much money as you can possibly save, but that you're being very, very picky about how you spend your money. So instead of buying nothing, it's more about just being able to save money, but buy the things when it's really, really particularly important. What it does mean is that maybe instead of spending money on material goods, spending more on experiences, and that's something we're going to talk about, so definitely keep watching and stay tuned for that. But in terms of why we choose to particularly do this, the first reason has everything really to do with my environment when I grew up. For me personally, at the time period when I grew up as a kid, I grew up, I'm a 90s kid, so I grew up back in the 90s and the 2000s. And at that time period, I grew up in New York City. I went to public school most of my early life. So a lot of us, we just didn't have a lot of money at that time period. And even those that did have a lot of money, in order to stay that way, we had to save a lot of money in order to hold that status. So as a result, because of that reason, and because I went to public school for most of my early life, that is one of the reasons why so many people were struggling financially back when I was growing up, that I saw from my own eyes around me, from the people around me. And as a result, that's why it was so important to be able to learn to be very, very frugal and picky with how I spent money, because there just physically was not a lot of it. And that's one of the biggest things that really contributed to it. Now, the second reason why I choose to live a very, very frugal life, and this goes back to the topic that I just talked about with, just a couple minutes ago, which is really because of the fact that I decide that because even though I do love to spend money very, very much, I'm very picky about how I spend money, because I'd rather spend money on things such as like experiences over material goods. For me personally, is that I do actually really, really enjoy spending money within means, because we're not going to just spend it recklessly all over the place. But what it does mean is that we'd rather buy things that are related to experiences than actual physical material goods. Maybe this is the reason why my e-commerce business struggled a little bit in its early days, is that because I was just someone that wasn't very passionate about material goods in general and was a lot more passionate about being able to provide a service of some kind instead. But the idea really is that for me personally, I'm just someone that really prefers to spend money on things such as like travel, experiences, concerts, workshops, classes, lectures, master classes, courses, depends on the course. I was going to say courses, but there's a lot of scammy courses out there. I don't have a course to sell you guys or anything. What course would I sell you guys, right? But the idea is that I just prefer to spend things on things that are not fully things that you cannot fully hold a lot of times, things that you have to be able to experience. And I think these are things that I value a lot greater than material goods that you can kind of buy, but you have to kind of hold on to and all that stuff. And then the third thing The third reason to why I decided to live a very, very frugal life is because I actually value, and this is the part that goes back to what I was talking about before, about why it's so important to value experiences over money, but it's also because I value quality over quantity. And I think that's another big thing about how I love to try to live frugally, because a lot of times I am actually willing to spend a little bit more money if I believe that the item that I'm trying to buy is able to bring more value than the cheaper version of that particular item. I did talk a little bit about this in a video that I made called why it's sometimes actually more expensive to be poor than it is to be rich, because when you're rich you get a lot of benefits, but of course that video talks about it. I'll put that at the very, very end screen. If that's a video of interest, you can watch it after you watch this video, why it's more expensive to be poor than it is to be rich. But the idea really behind that video is that a lot of times I'm willing to spend a little bit more money if I believe that I'm spending on quality so that that particular something can last better or provide a better experience. A perfect example about this is actually shoes. Shoes, a lot of time when you spend more money on shoes, as long as you're not buying it because of the brand name, but you're buying it because of the quality of the particular shoe, a lot of expensive shoes are known to be able to last a very, very long time. And whereas a lot of cheaper shoes tend to be very, very like one done shoes, where you buy the shoe once and it probably does not last a very long time, it easily breaks, and in the end, at the long run, you actually end up spending even more money. On top of the fact, if anything, in the fact that because you're buying more shoes, if you live in an area with a very high cost of living like New York City, it also means that you're also taking up a lot more storage space as well. And I'd rather own less shoes. And again, you can replace shoes with a lot of other kinds of material goods, but just using shoes as an example, I would rather own less shoes, but very high quality shoes that last a very long time than to just own 100 pair of shoes if I know that all of them are very, very cheaply made, and 90% of them just end up sitting still in my closet all day without much movement or anything like that. So I think that's really the third point to make, is valuing quality over quantity. Now, the fourth thing is really because we just really value a lot of things when it comes to how we decide to spend money. We just find pleasure in a lot of other values over money. I think that's really the big thing. There's a lot of things, and I've made videos about this before, sharing about how there's a lot of things that we can enjoy in life that money cannot always necessarily buy. What are examples of things like this are such as like natural good health. You can obviously buy very good healthcare, you can buy good medication, you can buy, goods, food, all that stuff. But at the end of the day, being able to buy something like being, like your age, that's one thing you cannot buy. If you happen to be a relatively young soul, no amount of money is going to be able to buy your age back. No amount of money is going to be able to buy your history, your time, experiences. You can buy experiences, but certain kinds of experiences, relationships, that's another very, very big one. There's a lot of people I know that are very, very wealthy, but they're always working all day. And because they're always working all day, they don't have very good relationships. They might be divorced, they might just be very lonely. There's a lot of people I know that have a lot of money, but they don't have anyone to spend the money with. They don't have anyone to share the wealth with. They don't have any people to actually enjoy that money with, or anything like that. So I think that we just find a lot of values in a lot of things. There was a saying that I told a lot of people. It's not really a quote, it's just something that I've told people before, is that sometimes I feel like I get a lot more pleasure being able to break bread with the people that I struggled with in the past than to be able to eat a meal alone. If that meant, even if that meant like eating a very luxurious meal, I'd rather just be able to share that bread with a lot of other people as well. And I think that's one of the biggest things, is just really being able to value finding pleasure and value in things that go on beyond just money and material goods. And it's for that reason, that is why I decide to choose to live a relatively frugal lifestyle. But of course, there are so many things that I can possibly share in today's video. These are just some of the things: enjoying simple pleasures, finding value in things beyond money, enjoying quality, and all of this stuff really all just comes together. So with that being said, that's pretty much what I really wanted to just share in today's video. So if you guys found that relatively insightful or watched the end, thank you guys so much for watching. Leave a comment, like, subscribe, hit the bell, and with that said, hope to see you guys next time. Thank you guys so much again.